Hi, this is Laura. Today I'm here to talk to you about Asperger syndrome and relationships. Of course, you know this can be a very sticky subject, even for, quote, normal people, which we refer to as neurotypicals. There really are a lot of reasons why having a successful relationship may be harder for us. One of those reasons is that we get so caught up in our projects and things that interest us that sometimes we can't even hear our name being called. And a person we're in a relationship with sometimes cannot be first because our interests that are considered to be obsessive stand in the way of that. Also, we get burned out when we're around people too long, and that can present a problem in a relationship. And thirdly, relationships can be stressful, and ordinary life is stressful enough for us as it is. In a relationship, we tend to idealize our partner and overlook the negative in favor of the good. And this is because love is blind, and it's common with neurotypicals as well as with autistics. The difference is we tend to be gullible and taken in by things. We don't understand nonverbal signals and body language and facial expressions. So we are very easily suckered in sometimes, and we don't see when someone is being deceptive or evasive with us. So we end up being hurt a lot more than a neurotypical person would. And it's just a process of learning to get around that takes place. And for myself, I know that I obsessed over someone for 2 years and wanted to be with this person, and it wasn't until recently that I realized that he wasn't who I thought he was. Well, after I figured that out, I actually had an extreme sense of liberation from clinging to this fantasy, which is very common for people with Asperger syndrome and high functioning autism to do. Just like we have obsessive interests, we become not like stalkers or anything, but we become obsessed with another person and think about them constantly, thought looping, and sometimes not even seeing the reality of who they really are. And sometimes we have a tendency to cling. Say that this is the girl tiger and this is the boy tiger. We have a tendency to want to latch on for a sense of comfort and security, to be our other half that we don't have within ourselves. And this is a very common strategy for autistics. And then the other partner is going to feel suffocated by that after a while. Let me tell you a little bit about my friends. I have 2 friends who have decided to be celibate and never to have a relationship because they don't want the added stress. I have one friend who desperately wants a family and children, but who's having difficulty with this because of the barriers of Asperger syndrome. And I have several friends who just have a person in mind that they're in love with, and no one else is good enough besides that person, whether the person is accessible or not. I have one friend that is married and making that work out, even though it's difficult for her husband to really grasp what we go through. And there's quite a variety within our group of relationship ways to be. And myself, I've been through all the stress, and I stay in there trying to find the most worthwhile way to be. What I'm trying to say is that there's no right or wrong way to do this, and I'm no relationship expert, but it seems to me the right way to do this is for both partners to have a sense of peace and harmony and go together through life rather than in a clingy way or in an obsessed pattern. And so we most need to be realistic as autistics and grounded, and to break the thought loop patterns, recognize them and stop. And for neurotypicals in relationship with us, we really need understanding and the opportunity to pursue our own interests. And it can be frustrating at times, but it's worthwhile because we are devoted and we are loyal, and we're some of the best partners you could ever dream or wish for, because we'll never go against you. Being in relationship with someone with Asperger syndrome can actually be a fascinating thing for both partners to learn about each other's worlds. the pitfalls I mentioned are important to remember. We have got to remember that love can't be blind in our case. We must keep our eyes wide open, and we must stay realistic, and we must find a partner who is very level-headed, very stable, very open to eccentricity, and who won't let us cling, but will instead, help us to be partners through our relationship so that we can go together in the way we choose in our path of life.